Hey guys, I'm Shipwreck's Crew,
And I'm the Cleansing.
and we were getting together to do a little draft recap here for our league. Just to be clear, we're just recapping the actual rosters after the draft, not what they are today. There's already been a ton of trades, which is why this league's awesome. But let's get right into it. So Sergeant Smash had the first pick. His starting roster looks a little like this: Carson Palmer at quarterback, Rashad Jennings and D'Angelo Williams at running back, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen at wide receiver, Dwayne Allen at tight end, the Jaguars defense, and Justin Tucker at kicker. Now, I love this wide receiving core. It's top three, if not the best wide receiving core in the league at the time it was drafted. But it's also probably the worst running back core. So it's kind of that trade-off I guess he decided to make. Of the picks that he made, I wasn't a big fan of the Kelvin Benjamin at the 4 spot. There's a lot of wide receivers I would have taken over Kelvin Benjamin, and especially since he needed running back help, he could have got a lot of decent running backs there. His team would be looking a lot better after the draft. I do love his Tyler Boyd pick late. I think that's a great pick. Do you have anything to add on the Sergeant Smash's team?
I do not. So I got Mobile City Chiefs, who had the second pick in the draft. His team looks like Aaron Rodgers, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Amari Cooper, Willie Snead, Steve Smith, Travis Kelce, Raiders defense, and the best kicker is Stephen Gostkowski.
And that's actually Cardinals defense. That's just a typo on my notes here. So it's the Cardinals, not the crappy Raiders defense.
So I do actually like his team, but it does lack depth at wide receiver. Amari Cooper is a good wide receiver too. Willie Snead has a potential, but I would prefer him in those 3 slot instead of having Steve Smith there. But you didn't really get any other guys there. And I do like the tight end, Travis Kelce. I feel like he's got a lot of potential this year, especially with the Chiefs offense and Alex Smith loving tight ends. Aaron Rodgers is top 3 quarterback. I can't think of anything for that. But Todd Gurley, we all know he's going to be good. And probably the reach in a draft, I'd say Amari Cooper.
Whoa.
Easily.
Raiders player.
Yeah, all right. You could have got him in 3rd. And you could have even picked up Keenan Allen and had a better receiving corps. But you just had to go with Rodgers and Cooper, which is more power to you. And I think that's all I can think of for this guy.
Yeah, his team is not bad. You didn't go as homer as you normally do, Chess, so props for that. I do think this team lacks depth. The Cardinals defense was the biggest reach for me in the 6th round. They should be great this year, but I mean, at least another 2 rounds you could have waited to pick up them. And then a kicker in the 11th. Come on, I thought we were better than that.
It's a good reach. Best at the position.
If you say so. So next up we got Vicious and Delicious, newcomer Ryan to the league. Welcome. I was pretty impressed overall with his team. He's got Andrew Luck at quarterback, LaShawn McCoy at running back with DeMarco Murray, Julio Jones, Sammy Watkins, Larry Fitzgerald at wide receiver, Julius Thomas at tight end, the Seahawks D, and Dan Bailey. He's also got one of the better wide receiving cores in the league. The running backs, though, lack a lot of depth. I think his backup after Murray is LeGarrette Blount. So definitely not a lot of depth there. That's the only place where I see this roster weak. Again, a reach with the Seahawks defense in the 7th. I know defenses put up a lot of points in our league. I still feel like that's too early. And Dan Bailey in the 11th, you could have probably got him in the 14th. What do you think of the new guys' team here?
I really like it. With the exception of Sammy Watkins, I really don't like Sammy Watkins this year. I just don't feel like Buffalo passes enough, and when they do, they were efficient last year, but who's to say that's going to happen again?
They do like to just shove it down Sammy Watkins' face, but we'll see if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, he's better in the second half than the first half, that's for sure. And next up, we got DP Hit Squad, and at quarterback, he's got Drew Brees, and his running backs are Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram, who are actually both running backs I really like. Mark Ingram is a pass-catching monster, and he came out of nowhere to do that, too. Jordy Nelson, Golden Tate, and Julian Edelman are his wide receivers. I like the potential of Nelson since he was a top 3 player before. And Golden Tate and Julian Edelman should be good guys that catch a lot of balls. Maybe they won't. I don't know. If Golden Tate can return to his the way he makes people miss like he did in Seattle, that would be nice to see, but that's all. Only time will tell. And Julian Edelman's just a really good, solid 3rd wide receiver.
Yeah, if he comes back to form, that wide receiving core looks a lot better.
Oh, yeah. And for tight ends, Zach Ertz. I'm not a huge fan of the Philly offense right now, especially with Sam Bradford being traded to the Vikings.
What a horrible trade.
Yeah, the Panthers defense, I really like that defense. It was one of the best last year. I believe it was the 2nd best in our league.
It was up there, I know that.
Yeah, so that's a good pick right there, especially if defense does matter. And you did get them, let's see, 7th round, kind of a reach, but you got them before or after the Seahawks. I don't know.
It was during that run. A
Yeah.
couple of defenses went.
And Blair Walsh was a kicker, sure he missed one in the playoffs, but that's okay.
That was a
It's
big
the
one.
regular season. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with the Panthers defense kind of going a little bit early. I love the Devin Funchess pick. I think he's probably going to do better than Kelvin Benjamin this year. And Kirk Cousins late. I like the flyer. You already have Drew Brees. So Drew Brees will probably be solid for you. But if Kirk Cousins hits and he hits like he did towards the end of last year, that's a great pick in the 12th round. A lot better than the next guy that we'll be getting into here in a second. I do agree he's got one of the best running back cores in the league with Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram. Man, that is probably maybe my favorite running back core of all these teams here. Also going back to Hit Squad here, I just want to let you guys know I ran the program, and Matthew ran the program to see who had the best roster according to the internet. And DP Hit Squad actually ended up being the top team, so congrats on that. Moving on to ... Matthew Haynes. Now, his team starting lineup looks like Marcus Mariota at quarterback, David Johnson, Jeremy Hill. David Johnson, Jeremy Hill, I love that running back duo, one of the best in the league. Alshon Jeffrey, Demaryius Thomas, and Torrey Smith, who could be a sneaky number 3. Jason Witten at tight end, not much there, but there's not any good tight ends really left. It's like Jesus Christ. Jets defense, I think they're a pretty good sleeper defense, and then Brandon McManus at kicker. I love the Jeremy Hill pick. He traded back into the 3rd round, I believe, to pick up Jeremy Hill. So that was
4th round.
Well, I think that was his 4th pick. I think he traded up into the 3rd to get Jeremy Hill. I think that was a great pick there. Marcus Mariota, though, you probably could have waited on Marcus Mariota, picked up someone better. I would not feel comfortable going into the season with Marcus Mariota. How about you?
I'd look on the waiver wire if I were you.
Any other thoughts on this team here?
Yeah, Torrey Smith is an interesting one, I'd say. He is a fast guy. You saw that in Baltimore, and he's a deep threat, but so far in the preseason, he has gotten like 2-3 targets.
If that.
Hasn't even caught a ball. I'm pretty sure he hasn't.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
Yeah, so you might want to check for some wide receivers. Maybe throw Kevin White in there. I don't know. So right now we got Solus Saint, and he's at quarterback. Actually, rookie with Mariota last year, Jameis Winston. And running backs, Elliott and Martin. I actually really like that because if the muscle hamster can come back into the shape he was last year and torch defenses like he did, it'll be a very good running back core, given that Elliott is not hurt or anything. Mike Evans, Jeremy Maclin, Eric Decker as wide receivers. I really hope and I think that Mike Evans is going to come back into the touchdown monster he was his rookie year and be somewhere in between his rookie and last year. Jeremy Maclin and Eric Decker are pretty similar to me. They're guys that will get targets and will get touchdowns. Alex Smith only has 2 targets. One of them was Maclin. And Fitzpatrick. There we go. Fitzpatrick only targets wide receivers, especially in the end zone. Eric Decker is really good at being an end zone threat. Gary Barnidge, who was very close to Gronk-like numbers last year. I don't know if he'll come back anywhere near that. He's number 2 or 3, something like that.
Something like that, crazy, out of nowhere.
I think he had close to 1,000 or 1,000.
Great catch in the preseason.
Yes. He should be a solid tight end. I really like that pick right there. Bengals defense, I'm sure it's just a streaming defense. I don't think there'll be anything solid throughout the year where you can rely on them. And,
he's got your boy.
Yeah, I was about to say, I lied earlier. Goskowski's not the best kicker. It's Janikowski. And it's a great pick right there. At the very last pick, steal of the draft.
Yeah, I'm surprised he got by you.
Yeah.
This team was actually one of the teams I was contemplating as having the best draft, even though I hate this guy. He's in my division. He's a rival. But I really like this draft. It looks like something I would have drafted. Really good running back core. I love Jameis Winston this year. If I had to nitpick on this roster, I got 2 things. One, Jeremy Maclin and Eric Decker, kind of the same guy. Very safe options. Not going to win you weeks most likely, but they're solid. I would prefer to see another playmaker in there, but that's just me. And then I guess Michael loves the Bucs this year because he's got Winston Martin and Mike Evans. So he better hope and pray the Buccaneers are just the all-world talent this year. Moving on to the next team. Oh,
this
that's
is one
me.
I actually got. Yeah, so he can't do his own, so I'm going to do it for him. I just want you guys to know, last year he played me 3 times and couldn't beat me once. But this year in his draft, his quarterback is Matthew Stafford. Eddie Lacy is his running back. So is Thomas Rawls. Eddie Lacy is a pretty solid running back. I feel like he's going to come back into form. He did trim 30 pounds. It doesn't look like it, but he totally did. And Thomas Rawls, if he can play like he was, like a mini Marshawn Lynch, it felt like, that's actually a really good pick up in the 4th round. What I really like is wide receiver A.J. Green. He's going to be a top 5 wide receiver, guaranteed.
I like that.
Yeah, and Randall Cobb and Marvin Jones both seem to be wide receivers too, with the potential. Because if Cobb goes back to the way it was when Jordy was there, he's a top 10 player, and Jones seems to be getting peppered by Matthew Stafford, which he has, so it's a good combo to have there. So every touchdown, every catch, everything he gets for it. Antonio Gates has got, I think, 6 touchdowns till he beats the record.
He's also 60 years old.
Yeah, 60 years old, but they're going to give him that, and that's a good pick right there. I really believe that. Texans defense played phenomenal at the end of the year, and so that's a great pick right there. I think he got a pretty good deal on it too. 11th round, not bad.
That's where defenses are supposed to go, Chef.
And for his kicker, he's on the worst team, but that's okay, because Carlos Santos, I approve.
The worst team. Oh, okay. All right.
Do you have any thoughts on yourself?
You know, I really like my team. I agree with a lot that you had to say. There's a lot of potential here, but I'm not going to boast about myself. We're going to go on to the next team, Dez Nuts.
You can say Dez.
They're both, I don't know, there's probably some similarities in there. I just can't think of it at the moment. But D's Nuts are last year's champion. His starting roster looks like Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Giovanni Bernard, Brandon Cooks at wide receiver with Doug Baldwin and Emmanuel Sanders, Zach Miller at tight end, Broncos D, and Stephen Hauschka at kicker. Now, this team, Roethlisberger in the 3rd. Roethlisberger, I don't take quarterbacks early. I think he was going in somewhere like the 5th or 6th round, if not later. So I feel like that was definitely a reach there. And then you got the Broncos D at 7. They were a monster last year. Kind of early still for my taste. I do love the Giovanni Bernard pick in the 8th. I think he could easily be a number 2 running back this year. Really solid pick. As far as the roster construction, though, goes, there is 0 depth at running back there. And you're missing Le'Veon Bell for the first 3 games of the season. And he's coming off reconstructive knee surgery. I mean, it's just not the prettiest situation at running back right now. Anything else to add about these nuts here?
I really like Emmanuel Sanders as a wide receiver 3. He was a big play guy in Pittsburgh a while ago, and he still did good with Brock Osweiler and very, very old Peyton Manning. So I feel like he's going to have a really good year this year. And another pick I really liked was your tight end, which is a former Raider, Zach Miller. And he's been a backup.
Is it that Zach Miller though?
That's
I don't think it's that
you
Zach
can
Miller.
You can look it up. People, I will post it.
I think
You'll see
there's
a
2
picture
Zach
somewhere.
Millers. I'm pretty sure
There's
this
2.
is the one that started his career with the Jaguars.
No,
You want to do a
no.
water bet on that one?
I'll give you a water
Water
bet.
bet? All right, water bet on that one.
So
All right.
we'll see after the video. Actually, we'd probably post it after the video. But yeah, Zach Miller, I like that pick. He's a sneaky athlete, and he gets open all the time, and he's just going to get peppered by Jay Cutler, especially if Alshon goes down or Kevin White doesn't perform. And that's about my thoughts there.
Okay, so on to the next team is the cleansing. So this guy next to me here, this team is also one of my favorites. Surprised they all come from the same division, Fantasy's Finest. Such a good division.
I wonder why it's called Fantasy's
I
Finest.
don't know. It's very strange. Anyway, his quarterback is Derek Carr. That's about the only spot I'm not too thrilled with. He does have a great matchup week 1, though. Maybe just going for the streaming candidate. But Latavius Murray, Ryan Matthews at running back, though not exciting. He backs that up with Arian Foster, Isaiah Crowell, and even Terrence West. He might take over running back, we don't know. But good running back depth there. Allen Robinson, Dez Bryant, Jarvis Landry at wide receiver with Josh Gordon on the bench. Hard to do better than that at wide receiver. Kobe Fleener, I think he's going to kind of come on slow, but I bet he's a monster towards the end of the year. Not as good as Jimmy Graham ever was, but probably better than Matt Watson, I would hope. Eagles defense, that was one of my favorite sleepers. Defense coming into the draft, that front 7 is monstrous, and they brought in some corner help too, so I think they could be a good sleeper defense this year. And then Chandler Catanzaro, for all those people that can't pronounce his name. One of the better kickers out there on our high-powered offense, so you got to be pretty happy with that. I like Latavius Murray in the 4th, Fleener in the 8th. Those were pretty solid picks. And Vincent Jackson in the 12th, I think, could be a steal this year. He could easily put up number 2 numbers, at least number 3 numbers. So I really like this team here. Moving on to the next one, we got Team 2 beat the new guy, Matt. What do you think about his team?
Let's see. Well, we got Blake Bortles at quarterback. My favorite quarterback last year at the end of the season. Devontae Freeman and Jeremy Langford at running back. Two guys. Devontae Freeman should come back. I don't think Tevin Coleman's going to take much of his carries. And he's definitely going to be the pass-catching back in that offense. Jeremy Langford, it looks like he's going to be the starter. It looks like he can do it. And I have a lot of faith in him. So I do like that running back core. It's got potential, but it's not very flashy. And T.Y. Hilton, Michael Floyd, and Alan Hearns. I'll say the exact same thing about the running backs. It's not very flashy. Like, these guys have potential, but I just don't, nothing really pops out. Maybe you try to trade up for a better receiver. I do like Hilton, but I feel like he's better too. And Rob Gronkowski, I guess that'd be your flashiest position, best tight end, assuming he stays healthy, of course. Vikings defense is fantastic, and it always is, and it seems to be doing good and better every year. Mason Crosby, kicker, I don't really have anything to say about this kicker. But his last pick, Ryan Tannehill, a guy that I thought last year was going to break out, and he really didn't. He had the same numbers, less touchdowns. But I feel like this year he's going to bring up the touchdowns, especially because of a guy I have, Jarvis Landry, who's going to be a monster. And that's pretty much what I have to say about this guy so
Yeah,
far.
I kind of have the same feelings on his team. I look at it on paper and it looks solid, but it's not flashy. I'm not getting ood or odd here. I love the Vikings defense in the 11th round. The wide receivers, they got potential, like you said. Just a solid team, a good draft. Not a lot of depth, but still a solid roster, I think. And then our last team here, we got Pillow Biters, another newcomer, out of town, Dave. His starting roster looks like Russell Wilson, Lamar Miller, C.J. Anderson, Brandon Marshall, Dante Moncrief with John Brown at wide receiver, Delaney Walker at tight end, Chiefs D, and Graham Gano at kicker. Now, a lot like the team before it, I feel like this is a really good team overall. I really like Moncrief as a 2, John Brown as a 3. I really like the wide receivers. I like the running backs. The starting lineup is really solid. Russell Wilson could be the best quarterback this year in fantasy if he starts to throw it like he looked like he did towards the end of last season. My only knock on this team is there's just no depth. After you get past the starters, it's pretty slim pickings. So lots of waiver wire pickups to make this team kind of get over the hump there. Any thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I really like the Lamar Miller pick. I feel like he's going to be a very focal point of that offense, doing short passes to the backs and running, because it just seems like he's going to get the ball a lot in that team, especially if their defense plays well and keeps them ahead of the game. And John Brown and Jonte Moncrief, I'm not a big fan of either of them, but you could have one of those as a 3, maybe get another guy on the waiver wire that solidifies that number 2 spot later in the season, of course. There's none right now. Chiefs defensive play was a bit of a reach in the 10th. Especially since they lost Sean Smith and a couple other guys.
Notably Sean Smith for
yes,
the Raiders.
That's the only one I know. So, yeah, that's about all I think about that guy.
Okay, so we just kind of wanted to end here, kind of go over what we thought our best team was, our worst team, the worst pick, and the best pick in the draft. So my worst pick of the draft goes to Ben Roethlisberger in the 3rd round to D's nuts. That pick just could have gone so much later, and there's so many better quarterbacks than Roethlisberger, in my opinion. I was not a big fan of that. What was your worst pick of the draft?
My worst pick was a toss-up between DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins. I'm really not a big fan of either, but I had to pick Sammy Watkins because that offense was so efficient last year. I don't see them keeping that up, and he seems to get injured all the time. And I don't even know if he's going to be 100% his first game. So that would be my worst pick in the 3rd.
Okay. For best pick of the draft, I got to go with Doug Martin. Doug Martin fell, and he got picked up mid to late in the 3rd round. For one of the best running backs last year, I don't see much reason why he can't do the same this year. That was one of the best value picks of the draft, and a great pick there by Soul Saint.
My favorite pick was going to be Demaryius Thomas, and he was picked up in the 3rd by ... And Demaryius Thomas's worst season, I believe, was 1,200 yards, and he's had bad Peyton Manning, he's had Brock Osweiler, he's had whoever else they've had, but in the past, and it seems like he's quarterback-proof, and he's just a pure stud. That's all I have to say.
All right, a man crush over here.
I do.
So worst draft of the league. I think I have to give this to D's Nuts. He did lots of trades during the draft. I feel like he just lost too much value during the draft with all the trades he did. We're looking at just a really weak wide receiving core, running back core. The quarterback value wasn't great. One of the last tight end picks. Got a solid defense, but just not a lot I'm loving looking at this roster. How about you?
Well, that was going to be my pick, but I can't pick it now. So I'm going to go with Mobile City Chiefs. I do like his quarterback and his running back and tight end and kicker. But he's got no depth anywhere. His second running back is still a question mark. And his two other receivers, I still don't think are going to be the greatest in that spot. Fully Snead, sure, put it at third, but it's just there's no depth here.
Yeah. All right, and so for the best draft of the league, as much as I fucking hate to say it, the cleansing, I love this roster here. The only position I don't like on this team is David Carr. Derek Carr, his brother David, they're all the fucking same. He could be replaced by someone off waivers though, that comes off hot. So that's the last place you have to worry about being weak at. So my vote's for the cleansing best draft.
I accept. Let's see. I'm still kind of looking through here, but I think I'm going to have to go. If I go with him, it'll look like we're doing this on purpose. So I'm going to go with Solis Saint because it's still the same division.
Same division. Keep it in the division.
I do think he had a really good draft. I feel like James Winston won't be the starter for the entire year, but his running backs are really solid. And then he has a good wide receiver in Mike Evans, who's going to tear this season up. And then his other two really complement it. They're not going to get the crazy points, but like he said, they're not going to be crazy high, but they'll be normal. And that's going to be perfect for his team because it'll complement the big play guys. And I even like his tight end. So, and best kicker.
Best kicker, they'll put him over the top.
Yeah, it really was.
All right, well, that's what we think. We're going to post a poll on the website. Go out and vote and tell us who you think had the best draft. This is Shipwreck's crew and the cleansing signing off. We'll see you next time.